Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I like to begin this lesson by giving all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahweh Ba'asham Rachakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect. Alright, scattered across the four corners of the globe, pushing this word out in truth and in sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do such in Babylon. Alright, and this lesson is based off of Salakia. This lesson is based off of you know what? I kinda would be going into I ain't going there. I'll just keep my hand on the screen. This lesson is based off of the transition from the Hasmonean dynasty to the Roman ruling over Jerusalem. Alright, it's history. But it points out that the Edomites had their say in our land once again due to well, ultimately through prophecy. Daniel, in the book of Daniel, speaks about all the kingdoms that would rule before the kingdom of heaven, and the Greeks was before the Romans. Alright, in two incidents, when Nebuchadnezzar dreamt and also when Daniel dreamt, and he got the vision, he saw it. So this here is basically on the screen here is Hasmonean dynasty. Hasmonean dynasty, also spelled Hasmonean, dynasty of ancient Judea, descendants of the Maccabee family. The name derived, according to Flavius Josephus in the Antiquity of the Jews, from the name of their ancestor Hasmoneus, or Hasmon, or Hasmoneus. So let me go in it and see what they're saying here. Alright, it says Hasmonean. Alright, so we now read that there. So that's where they get the word from, the name from. In 143 or 142 BCE, Simon Maccabeus, son of Mattathias and brother of Judas Maccabeus, succeeded his brother Jonathan as leader of the Maccabean revolt against the Seleucid dynasty. He soon became independent of the Seleucids as high priest, ruler, and ethnarch of Judea. The offices were hereditary, and Simon thus became the first of the Hasmonean dynasty. He was succeeded by his son John Hyrcanus I, Aristobulus I, Alexander, and his widow Salome Alexandra, Aristobulus II, John Hyrcanus II, and the last Hasmonean, Antigonus, who was deposed and executed by the Romans under Mark Antony. So we see here straight up at an instant, the Hasmoneans and their Jake and their rule. So we see from the Greek, because they began to rule. They began in the Greek Empire. They began, the Hasmoneans, or the Maccabee family, began in the Greek Empire. That is where they began their rule. The Seleucid. When I say Seleucid is Greeks. Alright, so for these first Maccabees chapter 2 and 1, it says, in those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Johanan, called Cadiz, Simon, called Tassi, Judas, who was called Maccabeus, Eleazar, called Avaran, and Jonathan, whose name whose surname was Aphos. So these are the sons. Alright, so what we'll do, we'll go into these sons' names. Alright, because we know that, because a brief history, you had the Edomite Seleucus. Not Seleucus. Well, he was a Edomite, but not him. Antiochus or Antiochus Epiphanes the fourth. He was a demon, alright, and he came and he destroyed as much as he could. A vile person, alright, as it says in I believe it's in Daniel the 11th chapter, so we will get that. Where is it? Daniel chapter 11. I believe it's 25. Right. 21. It says, and in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom he shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries, because and this is speaking about Antiochus. He wasn't to get the kingdom. I think he supplanted his nephew, because Antiochus Epiphanes was a prisoner in Rome, right? And they made an exchange, and he got freed, and they sent, I believe it's his brother, back as a prisoner in Rome, and he got freed, and then he supplanted his nephew, his brother's son. He supplanted him and took the throne, if I'm mistaken, because he wasn't a guy, but he said he was a vile person. Alright, a vile person. It says, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. Alright, because this was only speaking about, you see, the focus of the scriptures is Israel. That is the focal point. That is the where everything reverberates. Alright, around Israel. Everything happens back and forth is around Israel. So when you read about the king of the south and the king of the north, south of Israel and north of Israel. South of Israel is Egypt. North of Israel is Syria. Israel is in between them. Those two Edomite countries who was being ruled by Edomites, those two Edomite rulerships had constant back and forth with each other. Alright? The first Syrian war, the second Syrian war, the third Syrian war, the fourth Syrian war, the fifth Syrian war, leading on to the sixth Syrian war. And in between those back and forth with each other, seeing that Israel in the middle, one main empire which targeted Israel the most would have been the Seleucid dynasty, which ruled over in Syria, Syria. And they ruled over there, and they focus heavily on us to destroy we, especially this king that we're reading about, this vile person. Alright, this vile person, Antiochus Epiphanes. So we will go back and you know what, I will find something real quick and come back. Right, so these were I wanted to get Salakia, but these were I was speaking about. They didn't give him honor of the kingdom because he wasn't to be the king. Alright, so this is on Antiochus the 4th Epiphanes. It says, early career, Antiochus was the third son of Antiochus the third, the Great. After his father's defeat by the Romans in 190 to 189, he served as hostage for his father in Rome from 189 to 175, where he learned to admire the Roman institutions and policies. His brother King Seleucus IV exchanged him for Demetrius, the son of Seleucus. After Seleucus was murdered by Heliodorus, a usurper, Antiochus in turn ousted him. During this period of uncertainty in Syria, the guardians of Ptolemy VI, the Egyptian ruler, laid claim to Quello, Syria, Palestine, and Phoenicia, which Antiochus III had conquered. Both the Syrian and the Egyptian parties appealed to Rome for help, but the Senate refused to take sides. In 173, Antiochus paid the remainder of the war indemnity that had been imposed by the Romans on Antiochus III at the Treaty of Apamea. Right? So he didn't, and then when you read about it, you do go into more research. I think Seleucus' son would have been the king, right, who got murdered, and he usurped him. He obtained the kingdom by flatteries. So let me go back here, right? So we're going back in Maccabees, first Maccabees, right? Chapter 2. So we read about, because this here is in the Seleucid dynasty, right? The Seleucid, but then it reached to the Romans. How did it reach to the Romans? Well, we will find out. Alright? We'll find out, because it had reached to the Romans just like that overnight. It had to reach to the Romans somehow. So we read about them, right? Because Mark Antony, when we read here, by the Romans under Mark Antony was a Roman, an Edomite Roman. Alright, so we will get names. You know what's going on there? Internet just cut off just so. Yeah, that what is going. Yeah. How long I want to do this video too? How much times have I had that the other night? That's the long I had doing the video. And while it's doing the video, the internet just gone. Right, come back. Satan don't want this information to come out. Right, so we will resume, right? So let me get names, right? So Simon Tassi, not John Hyrcanus. Simon Tassi, right? Simon Tassi, which is the son of Mattathias, right? He was the name Tassi has the connotation of the wise, right? So let me see his son, right? John Hyrcanus. No, why are you doing that? John Hyrcanus, his successor. John Hyrcanus. This is Simon Tassi's son. John Hyrcanus, Johanan in Hyrcanus, ancient Greek, was a Hasmonean Maccabean leader and Jewish high priest of the 2nd century BCE, born 164 BCE, reigned from 134 BCE until his death in 104 BCE. In rabbinic literature, he is often referred to as Yohanan Kohen Gadol, John the High Priest. Right, so let me see some of his works. Right, he was the son of Simon Tassi. Boom, boom, boom. Right. Right, so you'll get this here. Right, this is what I want to get here. Not that. Not that. Siege of Jerusalem. And that, I believe, is this year. Yep. Where jail is this? It's here. Right, look at here. Look at here. No longer. This is what I'm looking for because I know I read it just recently. Right, so we find out all the info here. We go get here. It's conquest. That is what I have to get. Conquest. This is his conquest. Right? So that we gain the point. This is the point, right? Because the Romans were Edomites, right? It says Hyrcanus also initiated a military campaign against the Idumeans, Edomites. During this campaign, Hyrcanus conquered Adora Maresha and other Idumean towns. Hyrcanus then instituted forced conversions on Idumeans to Judaism. This was an unprecedented move for a Judean ruler. So he forced, and we would forced conversion. Forced conversion is the adoption of a different religion or the adoption of a religion under duress. Someone who has been forced to convert to a different religion or a religion may continue covertly to adhere to its belief and practices which were originally held while outwardly behaving as a convert. Crypto Jews, crypto Christians, crypto Muslims, and crypto pagans are historical examples of the latter. So we'll go back here, alright? Because what did John Hyrcanus do? He forced the conversions of Idumeans to Judaism. Alright, to Judaism. So now let me get this guy here and his name. Alright, Antipater. Antipater, the Idumean. Right, so we'll get him. Now I'll use these Wikipedia sources, but we know Wikipedia is not credible, but with that information it just had to choose the meat off of the bone. So this is Antipater the Idumean, born 113 or 114 BCE. This is around the time John Hyrcanus, the same John Hyrcanus who forced conversions on them. Right? He was alive, right? When did he die? He reigned from 134 until his death in 104 BCE. So Antipater, alright, because Edom, they freaking had Edom in the pocket, and he forced conversions on them. But it had Edomites all over. This is just Edomites living in the land of Edom. But the Greeks, they were Edomites. The Romans, they were Edomites as well. But this is just Edomites living in the land of Edom, which is where Antipater, well, the first set of Romans weren't Edomites, they were Japhetic, and then the Edomites came in. Alright? Claudius son, Crassus son, his first triumvirate, Julius Caesar and Pompey, and they were Edomites. Them was Edomites. Alright? So let me get back Antipater here now. Antipater the Idumean. Right? died 43 BC. He was the founder. So he would have been born, right, into Judaism. His parents, they forced the conversion on him. Now, he might have been, he's a wicked Edomite, so he would have whatever in his mind still, wickedness. But outwardly, he is a Jew. Alright? Was the founder of the Herodian dynasty and father of Herod the Great. Father of Herod the Great. Antipater the Idumean or the Edomite, right? These are Romans. So it says, according to Josephus, he was the son of Antipas and had formerly held that name. A native of Edom, that is where he born. He born there. Southeast of Judah, between the Dead Sea and the Gulf of Aqaba, which under the Romans became to be known as Idumea. Antipater became a powerful official under the latter Hasmonean kings, which were in the Greek Empire first. So the transition started to take place. Alright? And subsequently became a client of the Roman general Pompey the Great, and Pompey conquered Judah in the name of the Roman Republic. Jump into here, it says the diplomacy and artful politics of Antipater, as well as his insinuation into the Hasmonean court, paved the way for the rise of his son, Herod the Great, who used these positions to marry the Hasmonean princess, Mariam, endear himself to Rome and become king of Judea under Roman influence at Hasmonean court. Right? It says, jump into here. Jump into here. Right. It says, soon after, this is him in the midst of the Hasmoneans. This is what he do it. Soon after, Hyrcanus succeeded his widow mother as ruler and took office of the high priest. He was immediately attacked by his brother and surrendered. Hyrcanus agreed to retire from public life. Antipater, who seems to have succeeded his father as governor of Idumea, had reason to fear that King Aristobulus would not retain him in this position. Antipater was a seditious and trouble-making man, Edom, and he exploited the weak-willed Hyrcanus. Now this Hyrcanus is not the first Hyrcanus, but the second Hyrcanus. This is not the Hyrcanus that made the Jews, the Edomites conform to Judaism, but this is John Hyrcanus the second. It says, Hyrcanus, for the sake of his ambition, after Hyrcanus stepped down, Antipater persuaded him to contend against his brother for his rightful position, and even convinced the unsuspecting and reluctant Hyrcanus that his younger brother intended to kill him. He arranged for Hyrcanus to come under the protection of the Arabian king Aretas III in Petra. Alright? So, Antipater was causing mischief with John Hyrcanus. And that John Hyrcanus, alright, is John Hyrcanus the second. Now this John Hyrcanus here. So we'll get his successor, John Hyrcanus' successor. Alright, Aristobulus the first. Judah Aristobulus the first. Right? Right. So this is the successor to John Hyrcanus. So they will get his successor, Aristobulus, the first successor, which is Alexander Jannaeus, right? Alexander Jannaeus, also known as Alexander Yanai, was the second king of the Hasmonean dynasty who ruled over an expanding kingdom of Judea from 103 to 76 BCE. And son of John Hyrcanus, he inherited the throne from his brother Aristobulus and married his brother's widow queen Salome Alexandra. From his conquests to expand the kingdom to a bloody civil war, Alexander's reign has been generalized as cruel and oppressive, with never-ending conflict. The major historical sources of Alexander's life are Josephus's Antiquities of the Jews and the Jewish War. Alright? So, Salome, as king of Judea, they say she took office. Alright? But the high priest, Salome, we'll click on her name. Right? But the high priest, the heir to her would have been Hyrcanus the second. So John Hyrcanus the second, a member of the Hasmonean dynasty, was for a long time the Jewish high priest. In the 1st century BCE, he was also briefly king of Judah in 67 to 66 BCE, and then the ethnic ruler of Judea probably over the period of 47 to 40 BCE. Alright, so we'll read some things on him. Alright, alliance with the Nabateans. This agreement did not last. Hyrcanus feared that Aristobulus, which is his brother, was planning his death, which is what we just read about with Antiochus, right? Antipater, sorry. Such fears were furthered by Hyrcanus' advisor, Antipater the Idumean. So we see that he was in his ear and telling him, hey, your brother will kill you, boy. You had a fight. We just read that. According to Josephus, Antipater sought to control Judea. This is what Josephus said, by putting weak Hyrcanus back on the throne. Because Hyrcanus was weak, simple-minded. He didn't know who the enemy was. But it was ultimately the Heavenly Father taking them down. Hyrcanus took refuge with Aretas III, the king of the Nabateans, who had been bribed by Antipater into supporting Hyrcanus' cause through the promise of returning Arabian tongues taken by the Hasmoneans. So you see how Antipater come and in the midst and destroy it. That's how these Edomites do it. That is how these Edomites do it. So that is the one they call Hyrcanus the second. He's his father was Alexander Jannaeus, right? Excuse. That was his father, Alexander Jannaeus. He had what? Hyrcanus the second and Aristobulus the second, right? That was his. So we now read about Hyrcanus the second. Hyrcanus the second was simple-minded to the Edomites. We see this what Antigonus the second Mattathias said about his uncle, because this would be his uncle. Alright? Where is it? Right, look at here. Rome. Antigonus. This is Aristobulus, the second son. Alright? Antigonus. Antigonus was the second son of Aristobulus the second, and together with his father were carried off as a prisoner to Rome by Pompey in 63 BCE. Antigonus eventually escaped and returned to Judea in 57 BCE despite an unsuccessful attempt to oppose the Roman forces. The Senate released him, yet he refused to surrender his dynastic rights. After the death of his older brother Alexander, Antigonus claimed that his uncle Hyrcanus, which is Hyrcanus II, was a puppet of the Idumean Antipater, and attempted to overthrow him with the help of and consent of the Romans. He visited Julius Caesar, who was in Syria, and in 47 BCE and complained of the usurpation of Antipater and Hyrcanus. In 42 BCE, he attempted to seize the government of Judea by force with the assistance of his brother-in-law Ptolemy, son of Menelaus, but was defeated by Herod. So Herod started to come into the play. Alright? Herod started to come in. The see name Herod name. So we see the transition from the Greeks to the Romans. And what was going on? We see in that Antipater, the Edomite, had a part to play in manipulating his way to the top. Because that is exactly what he did. Manipulated his way to the top. He manipulated his way to be the king of Israel, in Israel. Right? That is what he did. That is exactly what that Negro did. That nigger, that black-hearted man. Alright? He manipulated his way to reach the top. Assassination legacy. Right? Just know it. Right, look at here. Look at here. Although Antipater saved Malichus's life a second time from a different ruler, Malichus continued to despise Antipater and seek his murder. Josephus presents two opposing reasons, one which would help secure Hyrcanus against the rising threat of Herod, and the other being his desire to quickly depose Hyrcanus and take power himself. He devised multiple assassination attempts which Antipater evaded, but successfully bribed one of Hyrcanus' cupbearers to poison and kill Antipater. See? So I wanted, and that is not exactly what I wanted. Right. Look at this is it. Roman procurator and appointment of sons. While with Hyrcanus established, Antipater thrived and laid the foundation for his family's success by Now remember, this is the man, the head of the Herodian dynasty. So what they were doing, and what he was doing in particular, was manipulating his way to take down Israel. Manipulating his way to take down Israel. Alright? Take down the Hasmonean dynasty, which was in the Greek Empire, and now Rome is beginning to gain power. The Romans have to conquer that land, and that is what Pompey did. Pompey went in that land and take it over. he carries Jakes into captivity, where we now read about. Alright? Aristobulus the second and his father. Right? But the king in Jerusalem, remember it had kings in Jerusalem before Herod. It had kings. The Hasmonean dynasty became a kingdom. A little small kingdom. So they took it over. They wanted to take it over and sit as kings in the land of Israel. Right? It says navigating conflicts of loyalty and power shifting within the Roman elite. That his whole plan was to set up his family's success. Where did they want to be successful? In the kingdom, in the land of Israel. Right? Let me read to here. It says, later when accused by Aristobulus' son Antigonus, who returned from Roman bondage to contest for power, Antipater made a great scene of his scars from fighting for Caesar's life in Egypt. He defended himself with a history of unfailing loyalty to the Romans. This appeal persuaded Caesar, who then appointed Antipater the first Roman procurator of Judea. And what the word procurator means? In ancient Rome, who were in charge of the financial affairs of a province, or imperial governor of a minor province. So you see what he become? The Roman procurator. Nah, not there reading. Right. The Amity law allowed the Jews a special degree of protection and freedom. Let me jump to it. At this time came the defining point in Antipater's legacy, whereby he made his sons Phasael governor of Jerusalem, Herod governor of Galilee, to the north of Samaria, between the Sea of Galilee and Mediterranean. Herod quickly set about ridding Galilee of what his court historians called robbers, although they may also have been people resisting Roman rule. His activities eventually resulted in complaints raised with the Sanhedrin. So he started to kill. Alright, that is what he started to do. He started to kill. He started to kill G. So we see Antipater, we see Antigonus, Mattathias, right? So let me go back from there. Right? So Antigonus, Mattathias. What he say? He say your uncle is a puppet to Antipater. And he was. Antipater was manipulating his head. Now remember, the same Antipater is a so-called Jew. He practiced in Judaism because he was born into it. But who converted him? Who converted the Edomites into that? John Hyrcanus II, the son of Simon Tassi, the son of Mattathias. Alright? In the Maccabees. Now we transitioning over into Rome. Because the Maccabean dynasty became a kingdom. They became the Hasmonean dynasty. Now no big kingdom, but it had kings on a throne. The word kingdom is a dominion of kings, and they dominated Judea for a while. But they were Levites, and now we have this Edomite, Antipater, trying to issue power in Jerusalem. He's trying to wiggle his way in. And he did. And his loophole was John Hyrcanus II, who was weak-minded, and he gave in to Antipater, and Antipater set up his sons. Alright? He set up his sons. So John Hyrcanus, not John Hyrcanus, this is who? Yeah, like Hyrcanus, but no. Now he are looking for Antigonus Mattathias, right? So let me read some about the Antigonus the second Mattathias, also known as Antigonus the Hasmonean, died in 37 BCE. Was the last Hasmonean king of Judea. See? A puppet king installed by the Parthians, he was the son of King Aristobulus the second of Judea. In 37 BCE, Herod handed him over to the Romans for execution after Antigonus' 3-year reign, during which he led the Jews' fierce struggle for independence against the Romans. You see? Because because Rome, the Edomites, they took over. And around that time, you had the first triumvirate, Julius Caesar, Julius. Then you had Crassus. Then you had Pompey. They died out. They had the second triumvirate with Julius Caesar's adopted son, whose name was changed to Augustus. He became the emperor. You had Mark Antony and you had Lepidus. That was the second triumvirate, and Julius Caesar became the emperor from that. And they made deals with this guy here, Herod the Great, because of his father being a client king, a freaking one of Rome's good friends, because they were all Edomites. At the end of the day, his brothers. So he'll fight for himself. Herod the First, Herod the Great, was a Roman client king of Judea. See? Roman first. Referred to as the Herodian Kingdom. He is known for his colossal building projects throughout Judea, including his renovation of the Second Temple in Jerusalem and the expansion of the Temple Mount towards the north. Right, so he had a lot of sons. Born in Idumea, he was an Edomite, but his father was a so-called, they grew up as Jews. Right? This is why John the Baptist told Herod, which would have been his son, might have been Herod Archelaus or Herod Antipas, which would have been his son. This one had here, Herod the Great. He told him, hey, you can't sleep with your brother Philip the Tetrarch wife. That is adultery. If all you're calling all yourself Jews, why you freaking doing that? We don't practice that, but they didn't care because they were Edomites. And that proved the Romans were Edomites. Hey, Herod was an Edomite. Freaking Julius Caesar is the same as the same people. Alright? Well, who was his predecessor? Antigonus Mattathias. So Herod, it switched from Israelite blood to Edomite blood. Right? It switched from Israelite blood to Edomite blood. Herod and Augustus. So we read this. The relationship between Herod and Augustus demonstrates the fragile politics of a defined emperor and a king who rules over the Jewish people and their holy lands. Alright? We can go through all that. Because it didn't really have much info. I want to know. Reign in Judea. Herod's rule marked a new beginning in the history of Judea. Judea had been ruled autonomously by Hasmonean kings from 140 to 63 BCE. The Hasmoneans retained their titles but became clients of Rome. After the conquest by Pompey in 63 BCE, Herod overthrew the Hasmonean Antigonus in a 3-year-long war between 37 and 34 BCE, ruled under Roman overlordship until his death in CA 4 BCE, officially passed on the throne to his sons, thus establishing his own so-called Herodian dynasty. Herod was granted the title of King of Judea by the Roman Senate. As such, he was a vassal of the Roman Empire, expected to support its interests in Roman patrons. Nonetheless, just when Herod obtained leadership in Judea, his rule faced two threats. The first threat came from his mother-in-law Alexandra, who sought to regain power for her family, the Hasmoneans, whose dynasty Herod had overthrown in 37 BCE. See Siege of Jerusalem. In the same year, Cleopatra married the Roman leader Antony. Recognizing Cleopatra's influence over Antony, Alexandra, which is Herod's mother-in-law, asked Cleopatra for aid in making Aristobulus III, which is Ajik, the high priest. As a member of the Hasmonean family, Aristobulus might partially repay the fortunes of the Hasmoneans if made high priest. Alexandra's request was made, but Cleopatra urged Alexandra to leave Judea with Aristobulus III and visit Antony. Herod received word of this plot and feared that if Antony met with Aristobulus in person, he might name Aristobulus III king of Judea. This concern induced Herod in 35 BCE to order the assassination of Aristobulus, thus ending this first threat to Herod's throne. See? You see what took place? He was frightened, so he killed, and then he killed more. Alright? He didn't just kill them, he killed a lot. He killed a lot of Jakes. You could read that for yourself, but he killed anybody who was going to rebel or oppose that rulership that he had. He killed them. So he wiped out the whole Hasmonean line. He wiped out everybody. But then he was sitting down as a king, and then Yahushai, our Lord, now was coming on the scene, and that is where you could read in Matthew the 2nd chapter when he tried to kill Yahushai, our Lord, because he heard this man is the king of the Jews. So he tried to kill him, but he failed. So there you see the transition from the Greeks, the Seleucids, to the Romans. And you had a wicked guy in the midst called Antipater. Notice how all of them name have anti in it. Nomen, I guess. Anti means against the father. Peter is father. Antipater was playing both sides and found a weak link, played on the weak link just like Satan does, and ascended into the power seat. Rome had all the influence, so Rome gave him the play because he's a Edomite along with him. And then he set up his sons, and the kingdom shift from Jake and from the Greeks to the Romans, and the power shift in Jerusalem and Judea from Israel to Edom. Alright, so I feel I will end it there, and hopefully you've been edified. And until the next time, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect Akyam, and stay strong. Hopefully you've been edified. I say shalom to the elect Akyam. Stay strong.